Next, let's talk about advanced grids. Advanced grids allow you to create free-form compositions or overlapping elements. The advanced grid doesn't provide any auto layout or vertical alignments like the flex columns, and if we drop a widget into the advanced grid, we'll immediately see how the advanced grid behaves differently than columns and flex boxes. So if we add a button widget, we can see we are now able to take this button widget and freely drag the widget to position it anywhere we want within the advanced grid. Now, let's take a look at the advanced grid's design panel. In the design panel, we have our alignment options that will align the advanced grid within the column. Below that, we have customize layout. This is where you will adjust the columns and rows. So if we set the column to 4, we now have 4 boxes in the grid, and let's give them a 20 pixel gap so we can better see those columns. Next, below that, we can add rows. And if we add 3 rows and the 20 pixel gap, we now have a nice uniform 4x3 grid. After adding those rows and columns, we now have some new layout options appear above. These options allow you to adjust the layout for the grid, and those layout options will change based on the number of columns and rows you select. But let's just set this back to 3 columns with 1 row. Now, when adding content into the advanced grid, you generally want it to be within another type of container. That's what the flex boxes are for, and you'll want to see our previous video on flex boxes where we talk about those in depth. As previously demonstrated, we can add widgets directly into the grid and move them around freely as needed. However, it's not recommended to do this, and the reason is simply that it's very hard to control how the content will fit together when it's not placed in a parent container such as a flex box. Let's discuss alignment within the grid. If we place the button within the first column of this grid, and on the right side in the design panel, we see our align options. If we then click the left align, we can see that the button aligns to the left side of the column. And clicking the right align will align it to the right side of the column. However, what happens if we move that button between 2 columns so it overlaps the 2 columns in the grid, and then we try and align them? We can see that aligning it to the left align will align it to the first column once again. However, aligning it to the right is now aligning it to the right side of the second column. This is something to be aware of. If you have elements that span multiple columns in the grid, then your alignment is going to slightly change. We recommend keeping your grids as simple as possible and using the advanced grid with flex boxes to help keep your element layouts aligned properly on different breakpoints. And with that, we've now discussed in depth the differences between flex columns, flex boxes, and advanced grids. In our next video, we're going to take a look at some pre-made sites that are available, and we'll dig into them and explore how they're made, whether using containers or advanced grids, and how everything looks across different breakpoints.